I used to think I'd won the lottery of life. Every morning, I'd wake up to the smell of her coffee and the sound of her humming in the kitchen. She'd turn around, smile that smile, the kind that made my chest feel too small for my heart, and for years, I believed we were unshakable. But here's the thing no one tells you, betrayal never comes wearing a warning sign. It slips in quietly, hiding behind everyday moments, until one day you realize, the person you trusted most has been living another life right under your nose. Back then, I didn't see the signs. Or maybe I didn't want to. If I'd noticed the way her hugs felt shorter, the way her eyes lingered on her phone, maybe I could have stopped what was coming. Or maybe it was already too late. And I swear, if you told me just a month before that my wife would look me in the eyes and lie, I would have laughed. But that laugh, it died the night I found the first clue. It was late, close to midnight. She had gone to bed early, saying she had a headache. I stayed up, scrolling through emails for work, when her phone lit up on the coffee table. At first, I didn't even think about it. We'd always trusted each other enough to leave our phones lying around. But something about the way the screen lit, and then dimmed, felt strange. The message preview had just one word, tonight. I froze. My first thought was, it's probably her friend. But my stomach knew better. I told myself I wouldn't open it. That I trusted her. But then, another message appeared, I can't stop thinking about you. That was the moment my heart started pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I picked up the phone. My hands were shaking, my mind screaming, don't look, if you look, nothing will ever be the same again. But I looked. The conversation was short. Too short to leave any room for doubt. Her contact for him wasn't saved with a name, just a single red heart emoji. And in between those tiny bubbles of text, my entire world started collapsing. Him, I wish you were here right now. Her, me too. I can still feel your hands on me. I swear, for a moment, my vision blurred. My brain refused to connect those words to the woman sleeping upstairs in our bed. This couldn't be her. Not my wife. But the dates on the messages told a different story, weeks, maybe months of this. Little stolen moments, private jokes, late-night confessions. The kind of words she used to send me. I sat there in the dark, gripping her phone, listening to the sound of the clock ticking in the silence. And all I could think was, every smile, every kiss lately, was it all a lie? I put the phone down. My hands felt cold, almost numb. I didn't cry. Not yet. Instead, I stared at the wall, waiting for the sun to rise, wondering how I was going to look her in the eyes in just a few hours. I didn't sleep. Not even a minute. By the time the sky turned pale, my head felt heavy, but my chest was wired with something between rage and disbelief. I heard her footsteps on the stairs, soft, familiar, and for the first time in our marriage, they didn't bring me comfort. She walked in wearing my shirt, smiling like nothing in the world had changed. Like my heart wasn't bleeding out in my chest. Morning, she said, placing a mug of coffee in front of me. Her eyes met mine, and I searched them, desperately looking for guilt, or maybe for some sign that this was all a mistake. But all I saw was, normal. I wanted to scream. To throw the phone in her face and demand answers. But instead, I asked, did you sleep well? She nodded, sipping her coffee, scrolling through her phone, the same phone that had kept me awake all night. And every time she smiled at whatever she was reading, I wondered if it was him. I chewed my toast in silence, my mind replaying those messages on an endless loop. I had a choice, confront her now, or watch her lie to me again. I wasn't ready. Not yet. I told myself I needed proof, real proof. Not just messages I wasn't supposed to read, not just a gut feeling. I wanted the kind of truth that couldn't be twisted into a misunderstanding. Over the next few days, I started noticing everything. The way she suddenly dressed better, for work. The way her phone was always upside down on the table. The way she laughed at texts she wouldn't show me. I began asking small, harmless questions, where she'd been, who she'd talked to. Her answers were smooth. Too smooth. The kind of smooth you only have when you've rehearsed a lie. One night, she said she was working late. I waited 30 minutes after she left, then grabbed my keys. My hands were shaking as I drove, my headlights carving through the dark streets. I didn't know where I was going, just following instinct. And instinct led me to a small cafe across town. Her car was there. Parked in the shadows. Through the fogged glass of the window, I saw her. Sitting across from a man I'd never seen before. She was smiling in a way I hadn't seen in months. The kind of smile that used to belong to me. I stood there, frozen in the cold night air, watching them laugh like strangers who belonged to each other. Her hand touched his, and my chest twisted into something I never want anyone to feel. That smile, the one I thought was mine forever, was now a secret language between them. I felt like I was drowning, but couldn't look away. Every laugh, every glance, was a silent knife twisting deeper. I wanted to scream, to run, to disappear. But I just stood there, broken. That night, I didn't sleep. I didn't cry. I didn't move. I just let the truth wash over me like a storm, cold, relentless, and unforgiving. The next morning, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I needed answers, even if they destroyed what was left of us. I sat her down in the living room, the same place where we had once shared dreams, whispered secrets, and planned our future. Her eyes widened the moment I spoke the words out loud. I know about him. For a heartbeat, she was silent. Then tears, real, raw, impossible to ignore, streamed down her face. She tried to explain, to justify, to ask for forgiveness. She said it was a mistake. She said she was lost. She said she didn't want to hurt me. But every excuse felt like a lie. Every apology echoed hollow in the space between us. I wanted to scream, to beg, to walk away. Instead, I just sat there, feeling the ground shift beneath my feet. Because in that moment, I realized, there was no going back to the way things were. After she left the room, silence swallowed everything. My mind was a storm, raging, chaotic, impossible to calm. I felt anger boiling beneath my skin, burning with every breath. How could she? I asked myself 1,000 times. How did I miss all the signs? But beneath the anger was a deeper ache, a sadness so heavy it threatened to crush me. The kind of sadness that feels like losing a part of your own soul. I walked through the house like a ghost, touching things she once touched, trying to find some trace of the love I thought we had. But all I found were empty spaces and memories dripping with pain. I didn't know what the future held, only that my world was shattered, and I was left to pick up the pieces. Days blurred into nights, and the question haunted me like a relentless shadow. Do I fight for us, or do I let go? Every memory tugged me in one direction, the laughter, the late-night talks, the promises whispered under starlit skies. But every doubt pulled me toward a future without her. I thought about the man I used to be before love made me believe in forever. Was I strong enough to rebuild? Or was I just fooling myself? I searched for answers in the faces of friends, in the silence of empty rooms, in the ache inside my chest. And slowly, painfully, I realized this wasn't just about her betrayal. It was about what I needed to heal. I sat alone one night, staring at the ceiling like it held the answers. The pain was still there, sharp and relentless, but beneath it, something else was stirring, clarity. I realized I couldn't stay trapped in the past, chained to a broken promise. Not if I wanted to find peace. So I made a choice. Not just about her, or us. But about me. I would fight for my happiness, whether that meant trying to rebuild what was broken, or walking away to find myself again. It wasn't easy. It still isn't. But it was the first step toward healing. Healing didn't come all at once. It was messy, filled with good days and terrible nights. I started by reclaiming parts of myself I'd forgotten. Morning runs, long drives with no destination, late-night talks with friends who didn't judge, just listened. I stopped asking, why, and started asking, what now? I focused on my own growth, on finding joy outside of the pain. And slowly, like the first light after a storm, I began to feel whole again. Not because the past disappeared, but because I decided it wouldn't control me anymore. Pain taught me things I never wanted to learn. That love isn't always enough. That trust can be broken, but sometimes it can also be rebuilt. I learned that forgiveness isn't a gift you give to others, it's something you give yourself, to find peace. And I discovered something powerful: the most important relationship is the one you have with yourself. I don't know what the future holds. But I do know I'm stronger, not despite the hurt, but because of it. If I could speak to anyone walking through this pain, here's what I'd say. Don't rush your healing. It's okay to break down, to feel lost, to question everything. Trust is fragile, but your heart is stronger than you think. Don't let someone else's betrayal define your worth. And most importantly, remember, you deserve love that lifts you up, not tears that weigh you down. Hold on to hope, even when it feels impossible. Because one day, you will find your way back to light. I started to dream again. Not about us, but about me, my hopes, my future, my peace. I found strength in small things: a sunrise, a song, a smile from a stranger. Each day felt like a step forward, even when it was hard to stand. I'm learning to forgive myself for what I didn't see, and to trust the path ahead, even if it's unknown. Because healing isn't forgetting, it's choosing to live despite the scars. If there's one thing I want you to take away from my story, it's this. Love is beautiful, but it's also fragile. Sometimes, it breaks in ways we never expect. But even broken, it teaches us about strength, about resilience, and about ourselves. I'm still healing. Still learning. Still hoping. And if you're out there, feeling lost and betrayed, know that you're not alone. There is light after darkness. There is hope after heartbreak. And one day, your heart will beat stronger than ever before.